Welcome to 75 Stories, a podcast created to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Normandale Lutheran Church in Edina, Minnesota.
I am Ruth Anderson, formerly Carlson, the daughter of Reverend Donald Carlson, who was the founding pastor of Normandale Lutheran Church. I was 3 years old when we came to Minnesota from California, where he had started another church that was very integrated with many nationalities of people. Coming from California, I really have very little recollection of that state. However, coming to Minnesota, it was surprising to me how rural Edina was. The property that was set aside for the church was right across from a cornfield. The cornfield was on the north side of Valley View. There was Doc Stone's old ramshackle house, and it was rural. Birchcrest was all trees and water. My brother went fishing there and trapping there. Edina was amazing, and it was a point of grief for him to have Birchcrest trees torn down and houses built. My particularly favorite memory is thinking of the Grange Hall. We had our first services at the Edina Grange Hall, located at Eden Avenue and Normandale Road. And that's where we had our first service on Mother's Day of 1950. And it was there that I saw all these people in the congregation in this little church, most of whom were my dad's family, who were immigrants from Sweden. My grandma, my grandpa, his uncles and aunts, and then other people who were interested in participating and being members of Normandale. I tend to think of some of the people that were important to the development of this church and to our family were Dr. N.P. Benson, who was the founder of Benson Optical Company, but he was one of the individuals who was looking to establish a congregation out here. And then there was Rudy Westerberg, who lived not that far from the church, and he became like a father to my dad in the development of Normandale Church. It was fun to look out at the congregation and see the ladies with their hats. They all wore hats with flowers on them, fur on them, and it was just a new experience for me. It seems like some people have wondered about what the challenges or obstacles were at the development of a new church. Some of the obstacles that I heard about were the fact that Normandale was a mission church and the option of going to a church like Mount Olivet or Gethsemane, which had beautiful buildings, and to instead participate in this ground level church that was being built was quite different. One thing I remember about the building that first unit was that there was a large temporary tent where a picnic table was put inside, and women were there making sandwiches, making coffee for the primarily men who were volunteering to build that first structure, laying the brick, pouring the foundation. And as a child, I was watching this because we were nearby to see that happen, and that camaraderie of the group was very influential in my life. I loved, as a child, being called to participate with my dad in the ministry. And so we would walk the neighborhood, whatever neighbors there were, and hang promotional flyers on the doors. Some of those were basement houses, just like the church was. And so this front door protruded out of the ground, and we would hang a promotional flyer on the door. And he did visitation and met future members that way. And I loved that. Our home was a Sunday school, too. Our home had to be, because it was a parsonage, after the parsonage was built, we had Sunday school in our living room and in our basement on Sundays. And so my mother often had guests for Sunday dinner, and the dinner table would have to be set. In the meantime, all these children were parading in our living room. It was fun. Earlier I said that this would be a house of prayer, a church of prayer. And so it can be said that, yes, my dad was instrumental in the development of this congregation with an understanding and an inclusion of all races and all people. But it was because he had submitted to God's will, God's authority, to create this amazing organism called Normandale Lutheran Church.
We are so glad you joined us today here at 75 Stories. If you'd like to share your own story, please contact Christy Shepard at kshepard@normluth.org. Join us next week for another story, and share this podcast with your friends and family. We are all part of the Normandale community.